You're listening to U Radio. Let your voice be heard. My name is Ryan Funk here on U Talk, a program dedicated to diversity, highlighting native-born and new Canadians' cultures and experiences. Tatjana Brkic has an impressive resume, to say the least. She is a mentor at HEC Paris. She was a consultant at UNEP, Red River Applied Business Research and International Business Faculty, and a participant in TEDx Active. She also helped create Square Metre for Peace, an inspirer and facilitator of a grassroots movement working together for positive peace locally, nationally, and internationally.
I come from an immigrant family. My grandmother was a refugee after the Russian Revolution, and then she settled down in Serbia, out of all countries, and it became a very turbulent area in the 90s. And since my husband was Bosnian, the decision was made to immigrate to Canada. What I would like to say about the life journey, it's interesting how actually the professional and personal interweave. I studied engineering and hated it from the bottom of my heart. So my summer job was to be a tour guide around Mediterranean coast, which I enjoyed far more than actually the studies of engineering. And then when I got a job in Volkswagen, I found it again. My experience there revolved around ergonomics and cultural inclusion. So you do what you like to do, regardless of what actually your professional, if you want, situation is. And Canada provided a phenomenal opportunities for the career development as well as professional development. Like, I believe that if you are a woman coming from Balkans and coming from that area where actually the glass ceiling is very low still, that this is like a wonderland. I finished my MBA. I got scholarships, fellowships, all kinds of accolades that I could just dream about, and got a job here in the International Institute for Sustainable Development, which led me to actually start doing something that is still an emerging trend. It is actually how businesses should become more sustainable. The reason why I think it's pertinent to the life journey and to the culture and integration is that I reminisce of a remark that I received from the employment counselor in Nova Scotia. She said, you worked in manufacturing, you lived in different countries, you are a tour guide also, and you are now studying an MBA in finance. You have to decide what you are and then focus on only one thing.
Yeah.
And, I didn't listen to that advice because I think it's really horrible to size a person to what you would like them to fit, to the mold that you would like them to fill. I think we are all having different cultural backgrounds, different professional backgrounds, different personal, experiences. And if you can find a job that can draw on all that you actually are, then you might reach a real happiness, rather than putting yourself into just being a slice.
What inspired this passion for research and teaching? Where did that all kind of stem from for yourself?
The work that I have done at Red River and in part with UNEP and, my volunteer engagements are all coming from the same type of sensibility. The thing is that, when you change the geography, when you change the country, we have chunked up the planet in a completely, if you want, illogical way. Like, we basically put a line and we say, this is mine and this is, you cannot come, And it's almost childish how actually it works. But we have seen in this pandemic that we have done something that's really crazy. We have had an enemy of humanity located at one place in this planet. And then we have taken it from there and we have distributed it everywhere else, solely for political reasons. So I do believe that education is the way for people to understand that we are not that different, that actually humanity, if we unite over, we all have the same goals. And I will give you the illustration. I do an exercise with students across different fields and disciplines, where I ask them, who is your enemy? Define your enemy, as I teach about security and its impact on economics. And 90% of the people have the same enemy. It's interesting. It's anonymous. Nobody signs their name. And very rarely would I get an enemy defined in terms of religious or geographic or national characteristics. Enemy is universally somebody who is attacking me, my family, and those I love. And if we understand that through educational process, if we understand that we are facing the same challenges and that we can actually, instead of, trying to combat each other in who is going to do a better job, that we can collaborate and stimulate each other's intelligence and ingenuity, that can be a much happier world.
You're incredibly involved in social innovation. When it comes to business or education, what needs to be done in terms of social innovation?
Well, the whole thing, of social innovation, it is actually like everything else. It became a phrase that most people do not really, know what exactly it is. So it can render itself to different kinds of interpretations. But where my interest has gone in that area and applied research and the work that I have done in the past has actually focused on is what is the transformational power of the communities, of the society. Because, the social problems are universal. Like we all have a problem with loneliness, anxiety, mental illness, segregation, discrimination, issues that are associating with income disparity. This is a universal category. So the problem is who is going to solve them. And we have tried with international organizations, we have tried with big business, we have tried with governments, and they all play a role. But where I think the solution might come from is from a small business community. Small businesses are 50% of the economies in the world, most economies, yeah? Mm-hmm. They are the most impacted by COVID or any crisis because they are like vulnerable population, they're most vulnerable. Yep. And yet they have the brilliance because they constantly have to adapt. They are not like a big box store that actually has this box and then you have to go into an aisle where they have put the mayonnaise. The small business has to bring the product to you, has to figure out, like Manitoba businesses today, they have to make virtual malls. They have to figure out how to find volunteers, how to redefine their business models. So these people have the transformative power for the society, but they are completely disorganized. They are not connected around the globe. Like you don't have an association of small innovators, global association. Yeah. But you have a global association of retailers, you have a global association of banks, and no wonder, that they are actually marching like cohorts, while the small businesses, although they are the backbone of the economy, they're just, really like little boats in the sea.
Yeah, forgotten about. Almost.
Exactly. So if you ask me how to transform the society, how to make a social change, I believe that we have to create the communities of small entrepreneurs, sole proprietors around the world who actually are directly living with the communities, who are addressing the community needs, because we have forgotten that the business can address communities. We are actually looking into businesses as enemies, like, because the big business is an enemy of a community. Are they going to take my money? Are they going to actually blackmail me to pay this amount of money for the subscription for, my... So, but, you do not see your, ice cream store in the neighborhood as your enemy. Like they are the people where you go, where you chit-chat, where you are actually saying how, difficult your life is. So if those kinds of entities can unite, can become a force of its own, they can transform a society. And if we empower our youth to start the business, that would be transformative for society, then we can actually really emerge as a much better world from this crisis.
When you're teaching students about business or technology, what sort of things are you telling them to look for in terms of, development or environmental technologies or this social innovation?
That's exactly it. I give them the examples of people who have, with very little money, achieved tremendous results. And that is in hope of inspiring them to actually dream big. So what am I teaching them? When I teach entrepreneurship and for United Nations Environmental Program, I did exactly that. I actually worked with social triple bottom line entrepreneurs from the developing world. And the idea was, dream your life. What would you like to do when you wake up? Because none of us wakes up and says, how am I going to take as much money from people and how am I going to make as many people miserable as possible? So think about what would you like to do with your life? Do you like to create art? Do you like to talk? Do you like to, help the communities, and in which way? And then think about what kind of job can you shape around it. And either find a job that can provide you with that opportunity, or transform the job that you already have in order to actually contribute to that organization and to give the best version of yourself to that organization, or start a business that would actually allow you to do that.
For a newcomer who's coming in and they're wanting to start a business, what sort of things should they be thinking about and prioritizing?
See, this is actually becoming a systemic issue, because if you are a newcomer and you want to come to Canada to start a business, you have to go through a lot of hoopla in order to actually come to a position to do that. So the idea that, we have been working on sporadically, I have to say sporadically, because it's hard to get the consistent funding for such an effort, is to actually figure out whether there is a way to develop not a whole business, but the segment of business, and to attach it to an existing business. And I will give you an example, without advertising any specific business. You have actually businesses that are complementary. And let's say that I am actually a person who is teaching English outside of Canada, and I'm using virtual reality to do that, because that exists. If I have come from China and I'm a Chinese immigrant, I can come to you and I can say, okay, so what I could do, I could create a similar product that would teach Canadian kids Mandarin. So basically, I'm not going to be starting a business, but I'm going to create a cluster that would be attaching to yours. We are going to have the common marketing. We are going to have the common human resource. We are going to have the common, accounting processes, so that I can actually overcome my status. But the skill set that I have can actually be put in a good use. Because here in Winnipeg, we can become a Tower of Babel, we can become a place where you can teach any language. We have such a multicultural community. Indigenous languages. We have the biggest software company that is actually teaching kids Indigenous languages has originated from Manitoba. Manitoba has so many brilliant ideas that have started here and then went somewhere else. So this is what I would do. I would actually advise young people, immigrants, to try to figure out how can they attach themselves to a resident, somebody who understands Canada, and bring their knowledge to complement.
So something you're incredibly passionate about is Square Metre for Peace. So what exactly is this organization, and what is the significance of it during this kind of current period that we're undergoing?
I definitely am very proud and, very enthusiastic about it, because what I have found, and many people have actually mentioned it after me, much smarter and better people than me, is that the world has polarized, that we almost have like a battle between good and evil, that you have on one side growing segregation, racism, selfishness, and self-absorption. And on the other side, you have a tremendous generosity and compassion and a goodwill among people. Yeah. So in the early days of COVID, in March and April of 2020, I found myself teaching online and having a lot of students who were struggling. I myself am struggling with illness throughout this crisis. And I find that, we all, although the government says we are all in this together, people who are immigrants, who come from different countries, they really do not have the cushion of a family, yeah? And they are somewhat less together than the rest of the people in all this. So we created an organization called Square Metre for Peace that basically connects women. And I went from a gender perspective, and I'll explain why, but connects women from all over the world, all kinds of generations, from students to CEOs to professionals to academics. And the idea was to share the knowledge, to share the experience, and to help each other. And it's a global community now of volunteers, of professionals, of doers, who are actually trying to ride this storm in some way, supporting each other. Why women? Because women are nurturing, they are giving life, they're mothers. And it's not only for women, it's women inspired with the desire to actually say, well, let's go in this other direction, not in a Darth Vader direction, but let's go in a direction of hope, love, compassion, and try to draw from kindness, resilience.
Square Metre for Peace is determined to erase borders and build positive peace for transcending race, gender, religion, and ideological affiliation to emphasize human values and global citizenship. If you have any stories you'd like us to share or communities we should highlight, leave a comment on our social media or reach out to us on our website. I'm Ryan Funk. This was U Talk, and have yourself a good one.